Climate change is here. The world, particularly the global south, is already experiencing its adverse effects. The Philippines is no exception, being identified as the ninth country most vulnerable to climate change impacts. With recent disasters brought about by climate hazards, it is imperative to equip communities with the knowledge and skills on how to prevent and manage disasters, as well as to adapt to the ramifications of climate change. The Philippines is home to more than 170 ethno-linguistic groups, which comprise the indigenous peoples of the country. The indigenous peoples bear the brunt of the adverse effects of climate change because of their inextricable link to the environment. Their culture and economic activities are deeply entrenched in nature. The Dumagat is an example. The Dumagat are a subgroup of the ethno-linguistic group of Agtas. They inhabit parts of northern and southern Luzon and the Visayas region. The Dumagat are a nomadic people who hunt and gather in the forests. I have worked with and lived with the Dumagat of Gabaldon who have chosen to be semi-nomadic and have been for decades now. Besides hunting and gathering, they are now practicing horticulture and agriculture. Their community of 14 families now have settlements on the foot of the mountains of the Sierra Madre, where they plant crops and maintain a tree seedling nursery. The Dumagat of Gabaldon still have retained most of their hunting and gathering ways. The men usually go up the mountains and remain there for days to hunt for game, such as wild boar and deer, which are now very rarely seen. Most of the time, they just harvest rattan and fish, as well as igat or eel. While the men hunt, the women tend to their vegetable plots, usually located beside their houses. They plant petchay and ampalaya or bitter gourd. When I was living with them, the children would take me to the river to catch river shrimps and small crabs, which we would take home for dinner. Their way of life, which is entirely dependent on the environment, is susceptible to the adverse effects of climate change. The Dumagat has been affected by the loss of biodiversity attributed not only to climate change but also habitat loss due to logging activities in the Sierra Madre. Besides this, the Dumagat has experienced a rise in the prevalence of illnesses such as influenza and dengue, which they rarely experienced before. They also disclose the drying up of some much needed sources of water that has affected their water supply. Even the harvesting of rattan, which is the source of the bulk of their income, has been affected by the unpredictable weather and the increase in temperature. How can the Dumagat cope with the consequences of these changes in climate? The Dumagat had the foresight to widen their sources of income from hunting and gathering to the inclusion of horticulture and small scale agriculture. Their shift from a nomadic way of life to a semi nomadic one had several advantages. First, they are now able to practice horticulture and have increased their capacity to augment their food supply. They are no longer dependent on game available in the forest, which are now slowly dwindling in number. Second, they are now able to access services and information and conversely be accessed by representatives of the government. This is important because access to resources, such as basic services of education, information, and healthcare, increases the adaptive capacity of communities to cope with the adverse effects of climate change. However, the steps taken by the Dumagat are not enough. Besides information, it is important that mechanisms for adaptation be established and implemented with the help from the Philippine government. Provisions for alternative livelihood, infrastructures for healthcare, and technologies that could deliver information in a timely manner are important for their adaptation. Provisions for alternative livelihood will increase adaptation significantly since it will diversify their source of income so that they will no longer be dependent on just one type of livelihood. Women can be taught how to weave textiles, and men can be taught skills such as automotive mechanics. It is important to provide infrastructures for healthcare within their settlements because of the increase of the incidence of climate related illnesses. This will reduce the number of fatalities and prevent diseases in the long run. Technologies for information delivery play a significant role in the Dumagat's adaptation. Since their settlement is located beside a major river, it is important that they are given regular updates in the event of a storm for them to be able to evacuate on time. Besides communication technology, solar panels should be installed in important locations such as the healthcare center to be built and the village chief's home. The chief's authority is recognized and his word is respected. The village chief, therefore, should be given the responsibility to relay important information regarding upcoming storms and disasters to the rest of the community, being equipped with communication technologies such as laptop computers and cell phones. A total of 2,443,000 pesos is needed in order to equip the Dumagat with the necessary mechanisms for adaptation. However, the benefits of adaptation far outweighs the costs incurred, as the way of life of the Dumagat people are safeguarded against the ramifications of climate change. The benefits of adaptation in this particular view are: first, no lives will be lost, and second, the culture of the Dumagat will remain intact. And these are priceless.